my name is Nadine Dolby, and I'm the president of Animal Advocates of Greater Lafayette. I'm very pleased to have Dr. Meera Ramesh with us today. Dr. Ramesh is a resident in the Emergency and Critical Care Department in the College of Veterinary Medicine at Purdue. And today, what we're going to talk about is how to keep your pets safe during the holiday season. But first, Dr. Ramesh, tell us something about yourself and what you do at Purdue.
Yeah, hi, my name is Dr. Ramesh and I'm the second year emergency and critical care resident at Purdue University. Being the resident, I'm involved with daily admission and monitoring of my emergency and critical care patients. I also take on the role of being a mentor and a teacher to the fourth year students as well as some of our interns.
Great. So what we're going to talk about today is how to keep our pets safe during the holiday season. There are many hazards out there for our dogs and our cats and our rabbits and our guinea pigs that sometimes we get caught up in all the festivities and we're not aware of. So the first thing is I want to talk about what is safe to give our pets. A lot of times the dogs, our dogs, my dog, is always hanging around the table looking for something to eat. During the holiday season, what would be a safe food to give your dog?
Yeah, so the holiday season does pose a hazard to the pets due to their access to unsafe goods. In my mind, I think of healthy treat options as something like, home-baked goods. You could sometimes use vegetables, sweet potato, baked potato. You could use lean meats like, turkey, chicken, beef. But to me, honestly, I feel like home-baked goods are probably good because we know what's going in. And while our intentions are good, we always have to understand that moderation is essential. So don't go overboard even if they're healthy treats because we don't want our pets to end up with conditions like pancreatitis.
That's very true because a lot of times during the holidays, as humans, we eat things that we're not accustomed to, and sometimes we get a little bit sick. And our pets also, if they eat too much of something, even something that's good for them, they can also get very sick.
I agree, and I feel like holiday time is the time for fatty foods, and oftentimes we leave things like table scraps or cookie dough and things like that out on the table counter, which our pets can have access to. So make sure that you keep it safe away from your pets. Of course, the children in the household too, because the last thing you want to do is end up spending your vacation, your holiday in the emergency room worrying about your pets.
So let's talk about some of the things that are very, very dangerous for pets. What are some foods that we should never ever give our dogs?
Yeah, so there are a lot of foods out there that humans consume that are not safe for our pets. For instance, things like onions and garlic that are in savories can oftentimes be toxic to our animals. Chocolate is a big one. I feel like I see that all the time on emergency where they ingest large amounts of chocolate. Macadamia nuts, for instance, that we put in cookie and granola, that's toxic too. Raisins, grapes, things like that, those can be toxic as well. I think those are the big ones. When in doubt, you can always use the ASPCA Poison Control Helpline to see if you can get more information online.
So let's talk a little bit about xylitol, because I know that's something a lot of pet owners are not aware of, but can be very dangerous. Can you tell us what it is and where you would find xylitol, what products it's in, and why it's so dangerous?
It's hard to say. So xylitol is the ingredient that we use in a lot of products that's basically sugar-free gum. Like for instance, your sugar-free gum, right? And xylitol can cause rapid reductions in your blood glucose levels and can put you in liver failure. So it's extremely toxic to our pets. It can be in a lot of products, right, from our medications, so sometimes even things like peanut butter. So when in doubt, always flip over the contents, look at the ingredients, make sure it doesn't contain xylitol. I think there are a lot of products out there. I think the most common one that I've been surprised to see is something like peanut butter actually containing xylitol.
So that's a really dangerous one, and it's often, if, for example, your dog gets into your purse and chews up a packet of sugar-free gum, sugar-free mints, sugar-free chocolate. That's a double no-no.
Absolutely.
And I think one thing that you stressed a lot, the importance of homemade goods because you know what's in them. And that's one of the dangers of buying baked goods at a supermarket, at a bakery, and giving them to your dog, is that sometimes they do have xylitol in them. And you as a human don't know and don't look. So I think the takeaway that Dr. Ramesh is really suggesting is you need to look at the labels and make sure that what you're giving your pet is safe for your pet.
Yeah. And for instance, things like raisins, you know, it's really hard to say as far as what the toxic dose of raisins are. One raisin might be toxic to your dog, while it might take 10 raisins for another dog. So when in doubt, give the emergency center a call, give your vet a call, like let us know if you have any questions, and we'll let you know if the dog needs to be rushed in.
Right. So for example, something as innocuous as an oatmeal raisin cookie could be very dangerous for a dog because of the raisins.
Absolutely. Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about cats. The dogs tend to hang out at the table and look for the food, and while they're doing that, the cats are off playing and getting into trouble. One of the unknown dangers for cats during the holidays is often different plants that we have, different holiday plants. Can you talk a little bit about the plants that might be dangerous for cats?
Yeah, so ornamental plants are something that we exchange constantly during holidays to add some color to our homes, right? I think the big ones are lilies. Most types of lilies are toxic to cats, and they can put them in kidney failure, and sometimes it's irreversible. No matter what we do, we're not able to, you know, reverse or repair that damage. Other toxic plants would include things like oleander, tulips, sago palms. I don't know if that's something we commonly have in this region of the country, but sago palms would be a good one. Daffodils as well. Again, ASPC, Poison Control, is a nice resource online, you know, where you can refer and see if this is even something that you should have in your house, especially if you have a cat, because at the end of the day, cats and plants don't really go well together.
What about holly and mistletoe? Those are two common Christmas plants in this region of the country.
Yeah, so I think holly and mistletoe usually cause GI upset and sometimes can cause some effects on the heart. The other big one is going to be I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the name of this one. Tinsel.
Right.
Yeah, and that when ingested can lead to intestinal blockage. So if your animal's ever showing any sort of signs of vomiting or diarrhea or lack of appetite, like take the dog to your vet.
So tinsel, that really segues into my next question, which is we often don't think about decorations that we have up and how dangerous they might be. Tinsel, I think, is particularly dangerous for cats because, first of all, during the holidays, it can be everywhere in somebody's house. I know after one holiday I found it like on all the little nooks and crannies of the house, and it makes you really nervous when you have cats because they can ingest it and it can get wrapped around their intestines and they can die from it. What are some other decorations that would be we need to take particular caution if we have pets in the house?
I think the other big ones would be things like candles and electric lights, because when pets get access to it, it can cause burn injuries and it can cause things like strangulation. So never leave your cat or dog unattended to with access to, like, you know, a wire or a cord where it can chew on or bite on, especially the puppies in the house, because that can lead to like massive injuries to their mouth and can also have some adverse effects to their lungs.
So puppies like to chew on things like Christmas light cords, and I would think that cats like to pull them down and pull the whole tree and the cords down, so it is really dangerous.
It is, yes.
And of course, open candles and flames. Cats are very curious, and they will want to go up and take a look, and they could get themselves hurt and burned very, very seriously. What about things like oil reed diffusers, essential oils? Are those dangerous for cats or dogs?
I mean, not all of them. It depends on the ingredient and, you know, how much they take in. So, you know, I think as long as they're not having other conditions like asthma that could exacerbate their respiratory situation, it might be okay to have the diffuser on,
Mhm.
however, make sure they don't get access to it where they can eat it or drink it.
Right, and cats do have very sensitive sort of respiratory systems.
Absolutely.
So some things that maybe we don't think about because they don't affect us
Mhm.
might affect cats.
Mhm.
So let's talk a little bit about some of the warning signs that, because sometimes we're not paying close attention to our pets, and because we're busy with our children and we're busy with our families, but then we notice something is wrong.
Mhm.
What are some of the things that we should look for in
Yeah.
our pets?
Yeah, I think that's an excellent question. And I think main things to look for would be things like hypersalivation, if they're drooling excessively, if you have a bright, alert, responsive dog at home that's got great energy, that's all of a sudden dull, not eating, this dog starts vomiting, starts having diarrhea, seems like the abdomen's tucked up, that would be indicative of abdominal pain. The dog's doing the praying posture, that would again be suggestive of some sort of abdominal pain. So I think, you guys know your dogs and cats the best, so you know what they are normally, right? And if they're not exhibiting abnormal behavior, then that's a cause of concern, and at that point I would take them to the vet.
Right, so any sort of change in the normal behavior is what's really important to look for. So if a dog vomits, has diarrhea, cat stops drinking, stops eating, particularly for cats, a lot of times they might hide, right? If they're not feeling well, they might go into a corner somewhere and hide. So you really need to be aware of behavioral changes in your cats, dogs, rabbits, and other companion animals. And as Dr. Ramesh says, you know them the best, so you know when they're acting a little bit unusual, and that's the time to get them to a vet. Is there anything else that we should know? One thing we didn't talk about, which is really important to add, I think, is that during the holidays we tend to have a glass of wine, a cocktail. As far as I know, these are things you should never give to your dog.
Absolutely not.
Right.
Yeah. They can cause really bad GI upset, and it can lead to conditions like pancreatitis in your dog. And sometimes they can tip over the glass, and the glass can be broken down into pieces, and your dogs, have a tendency to eat those glass pieces, which can go and sit in the stomach and cause like an intestinal blockage, and sometimes even perforation of the abdomen, right? So I think trying to keep all of these things away, as much as it's hard to do that, it's something we need to consider with our pets.
And it's really important to watch children with pets, because while as an adult you know not to give a piece of chocolate to a pet, oftentimes a 3 or 4 year old won't know that and will give a piece of chocolate to your dog, and then you're sitting with Dr. Ramesh at Purdue on Christmas Day instead of at home with your family because your dog is sick.
Right.
So Dr. Ramesh mentioned a few resources. The ASPCA has a poison hotline.
Yeah, so you have ASPCA Poison Control and Pet Poison Helpline. When in doubt, you can always call them. I think there's usually like a minimal charge that they do if they do a consult, but when in doubt, you can call them and let them know what your dog or cat got into, how much of the, toxicant that the animal got into, and they can give you recommendations over the phone as far as whether your dog's safe to continue to stay at home and be monitored, or if the dog needs to be rushed to the emergency clinic. Let me also tell you guys this thing: if you have a dog that's ingested large amounts of something like, let's say, sugar-free gum, call the emergency clinic, and likely the recommendation is going to be to bring the dog in, and the sooner you bring it in, the better the chances of giving your dog a drug to get it to vomit stuff up. And by doing that, we're decontaminating the dog, and we are potentially saving them from the adverse effects of of anything like sugar-free gum or chocolate or raisins or any of those things.
So it's important to remember that Purdue is available 24/7, and if it's regular business hours, of course your first stop should be your own vet, because they're the ones who know your dog or cat, rabbit, guinea pig, or other pet the best. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Ramesh. We appreciate everything you do
Thank you.
for animals, for our community, and for keeping everyone happy, healthy, and safe over the holidays.
Thank you. Appreciate it.